Welcome back, everyone. So let's reconfigure this a little bit in terms of our chart layout and add a few things to bring out some of the key points that we want to actually show. So dragging it up here and just reorganize this a little bit. This is way too big, so let's just put this here and then we'll drag it by selecting this and drag it down here and make it smaller like so. So we can always drag this up a bit so that this has a bit more space. Like so. And reorganize this such that we use up the full real estate. Okay, so once again we want to actually copy and paste this and put them side by side like so. Okay, so this one thing about looking at this is that we want to come over here and add a few other things. I can see the average here, but I really want to actually have a few more values. For a start, I want the data label for the average, and I also want to view the minimum. Minimum might not be so useful. Let's just look at the percentile at the, let's just say 50th percentile. Actually 50th would be medium. So let's just say 20th percentile. That's probably more useful in our situation here. So again, you can see that there might not be so useful, but we added it just for a good point of reference for us. We could also add a minimum line, which will be that line there. Okay, so there are a few things here to actually give us some perspective. There is just one catch between these two charts, is that notice that they all bunch up here. The variation is not very large at all. There may be a situation where you want to actually highlight the difference and compare the difference very clearly. So that's when you actually will blow up the so-called axis value. But just be mindful when you blow up the axis value. It can be misleading, something that you need to actually draw and bring that out so that your readers who are reading it is fully aware of that. So let's just do that. We'll come to the y-axis. The lowest here is 202, so we can actually change the start value to 200, say. And that would change the range from 200 upwards. That will be our lower bound. We didn't specify the upper bound, and the upper bound will be decided by Power BI itself. And very quickly you can see that I can compare them substantially better now compared to this layout here. But there's of course one catch here, is that when you actually have it this way, it just looks at the month-to-month variation is really large, when in reality it's actually very small. It's just that because we have zoomed in, it gives that visual and gives that feel that the month-to-month fluctuation is very high. This is something that you have to be very careful of when you, especially when you're presenting month-to-month sales data. It could cause heart attack to some of the managers, especially if it is a drop. The percentage drop is obviously not very large here, but if you present it in a manner, it can really create a lot of stress for the people who's concerned. Right. So this pretty much summarized this portion of the chart itself. What we want to do now is that we want to move on to a few other things, but I want to actually add those in the next video rather than add it into this part here. In the next video we will start looking at the slicer that allows you to actually, well, like the name suggests, slice. Okay, but before we move on, there's just one thing that I do want to actually bring it to your attention here, is that we talked about filters a little bit, but not in depth. Notice that the month here shows that all of the months are shown. You can actually change that. You can actually select all, or you can actually select a couple of months that you want to actually draw attention to. That's where this filter part comes in really handy on its own. So that's just a little tip. We may revisit that in the future, but for now, I just wanted to show you that, and I'll see you in the next video.